Hi there. Thank you for joining, everyone. It looks like we've got students still jumping on, but we'll go ahead and get started for those of you who are on time. Thank you for being here. You're going to learn about financial aid and other financial opportunities for Whitworth University. And hopefully you've already applied and been admitted, and now you're ready to learn about the next steps. That's great. My name is Trina, and I'm the Associate Director of International Admissions. So let's go ahead and jump in. Of course, we're all familiar now with the way things go on virtual webinars. Please feel free to put your comments or questions in the Q&A box below, and we'll review those at the end of the session. All right, we're just going to jump right in. So these are the different types of financial aid that you will find offered at Whitworth University. A lot of these you've already possibly received on your financial aid offer letter. The merit scholarships are the scholarships that we award to you upon admission. So the merit scholarships are based on your GPA, on your English proficiency scores, and other requirements. You will get a merit scholarship ranging between $22,000 and $30,000 per year, renewable. We also have talent scholarships. So we give you the opportunity to showcase what you're good at and give you an award for that. For some of the best examples are music scholarships, singing, playing an instrument, but there's also communications, debate, those kinds of things too. Those have already closed for the season, so I'm hoping that you had the opportunity to apply for those earlier in the admissions cycle. We also offer specialized scholarships, such as the Visit Scholarship, which is what you're doing now. If you register and attend 2 of these virtual info sessions, you can earn an additional $1,000 scholarship. This is a one-time scholarship, but hey, it helps. And these info sessions hopefully are good for you and informative to help you make the best decision. Education USA is a US government affiliated agency that's located around the world in many, many cities. Education USA helps students prepare and plan for their study abroad in the United States. It's free service. And if you are an Education USA mentee, please, we would want to know that at the time of admission, you would have put that on your application and shared the email and information of your EdUSA advisor. And then we also have donor scholarships. These will come to you later as a current student at different times of the year. We have donors that are supporters of Whitworth, they're alumni, they're people in the community that offer up a variety of scholarships for you to apply for. Finally, we also have financial aid, which is different than your scholarships. This is financial aid given to you by the university based on your economic contribution. So you would want to submit the CSS profile found on the College Board website. If you haven't done that already, you should do that because this unlocks the possibility of you receiving additional need-based financial aid that stacks on top of your scholarships. Okay. We're just going to go over some of the amounts that I mentioned earlier. So you will see International Student Scholarship. Those are your merit scholarships that you would have received when you were admitted. And I mentioned also they started at $22,000, they go up to $30,000. And if you're a transfer student, here's the range, okay? And the need-based financial aid we were just talking about, that does vary. So it's based on the student's demonstrated need. We can't really tell you how much you're going to get until you submit that CSS profile. Whitworth also is generous in giving you a $4,000 housing grant to help lower your meal cost and residence hall, your dorm costs. So you're required to live on campus your first year. So this extra $4,000 will bring your costs down quite a bit. This is great. New students are required to live on campus for the first 2 years. For sure the first year, because gosh, it's the best way to experience things and make friends and get to know your new surroundings. After a year, you want to move off campus, it's a possibility for you. We can talk about that later. And then the talent scholarships I mentioned, they've also range from 500 up to even 10,000, depending on the talent and your application. The Education USA scholarship I mentioned at the very bottom, it's an extra $1,000. Okay, the virtual visit scholarship that you're doing now, you've joined this webinar, join one more. In the next month, we have a new webinar topic for admitted students and about your next steps, what you should be doing and thinking about next. So that would be your second webinar. And once you attend those two, you get that extra 1,000. It's a one-time scholarship, so this one's not renewable. All of the others that I mentioned are renewable, except for this one and the Education USA. May 1st is the deadline to do the Visit Scholarship Award. So join me. Okay, focusing in quickly on what your financial aid offer letter might look like. You will get an actual letter in your email. It's a letter template that outlines your scholarship, your grants, all of the things that we just talked about. And then you'll see your total award amount for the year. This is each year. This won't change as you study through your 4 years at Whitworth. So for example, this student received a $22,000 scholarship. They received international grant. Now there's the financial aid. So they received $2,000 extra in financial aid. They received a $4,000 music grant. Of course, they got the housing grant. All students get that. And then it looks like they did a virtual visit, 2 webinars. So they got that additional $1,000. So their total award is $33,000 in financial aid and grants. That's good. That's a really good package. Okay, so then this is how we calculate your actual cost. This is for 9 months. This is for a school year, okay? So your tuition and fees at the university come to $52,800. The on-campus housing with a full meal plan is $14,300. You'll have international health insurance. And so your total costs that you would pay to the university each year for studying at Whitworth is about estimated at $67,000, okay? These costs here are not billed. You don't pay the university for these, but you need to remember that you have these additional costs to think about when you plan to study. Not even at Whitworth, even if you study in another university. You're going to have books. You're going to have supplies, a laptop, paper and pen, those kinds of things, calculators that you need for school. And of course, you have to think about your airfare, getting to the university and then going back home for vacation. And whatever personal expenses, always travel with some spending money. You'll need some of your own personal spending money for incidental things like, you know, if you need a new coat or if you need to go to the grocery store to buy some food for your dorm room, whatever. So we estimate this to be about $3,000 for the year. We don't bill you for these costs, but don't forget about them. Okay, so let's do the math. We're going to take the total amount for tuition and fees, reduce it with the student's award for the year, and now all of a sudden, $34,000 is what they owe, is their actual cost for an academic year. Now, this could be a little different for you. It could be a little lower, could be a little higher. It depends on your financial aid offer letter. Remember, it just depends on what you get for awarding for if you applied for music scholarship or what kind of university scholarship you got, okay? Then this amount is divided into 2 semesters. You pay per semester. Each semester has to be paid in full so that you can register for the next semester's classes. Each semester, you can break it up into 4 payments, 4 payment installments. So therefore, the payment for your study becomes a little more manageable. Each payment is usually around $3,600, $3,700 per payment. Okay, those can be done through wire transfer. We have a website called Flywire for money sending. And when you come to campus, you will have your own bank account, so your family can wire transfer money directly to you. We help you work that out. Okay, hopefully that's clear. So you'll want to think about a few of these things when you remember your scholarships. You have to be a full-time student all the time, of course. That's in order to get your scholarships, but that's also a requirement of your F1 student visa. You always have to be registered in minimum of 12 credits. This typically students are registered in 12 to 15 credits, especially in the beginning, so you should be fine. 12 credits or more, not 11.5, not 11, you would be out of status and you would lose your scholarships. So you must always be at 12 credits or more. And then you have to maintain a pretty good GPA. Minimum is 2.0, and I'm sure that you will earn a higher GPA than that to keep your scholarships. And then, of course, you have to be in good standing with your student visa, which means that you'll follow by all of the rules, and we'll tell you all of those things once we get closer to class starting. Okay, let's talk serious now. This is important to remember and important ideas to speak about with your family. Remember that you're studying for 4 years. It's really easy to forget that because we're always talking about the first year payments. You're thinking beyond just getting here and starting your first school year, but you have to remember all 4 years, you'll have that extra cost of about $30,000 times 4. So it's a big picture cost. It's a commitment. It's a financial commitment for you and your family, no matter what university you go to. It's expensive in the United States, but it's quite a good investment. And that's just something you'll have to work out with your family is what university is worth that investment. You'll think about what kind of attention will you get? What kind of community is on the campus? What kind of spirit do you feel when you speak to the advisor? What is the location like? Is the weather nice? Is the city safe? All of these things you want to think about when you decide on your university. Then what you'll do is once you decide that Whitworth is for you, you'll submit your deposit, and then we talk about your immigration documentation. This is where you and your family will show by offering a bank statement or a combination of financial statements that show you have that $33,000 or whatever your actual cost is, that you have that accessible to pay for your first year of living and studying in the United States. Once we have that bank documentation, Whitworth will send you your Form I-20, which is what you will use to schedule your F1 student visa appointment. And we'll talk more about that in future videos, future webinars. Another thing to remember, tuition always increases at any school. Tuition goes up every year. Depends, we don't know how much, but it always does go up. Your awards, however, do not. So you'll want to factor in extra for cushion, for just in case. When you think about your finances for studying, you have to always think about the unknown and like an emergency savings amount, for example. Okay. Now let's get back to some good stuff here. We are talking about what can you do to help offset your costs. Well, there's a lot you can do. especially with on-campus activities. So you, as an international student, are definitely allowed to get an on-campus job. Most international students have an on-campus job. It's a part-time, of course, so you can only work up to 20 hours per week during the school year. Typically, students work maybe 12 to 15 hours per week. Really just depends. Especially when you're new, you don't want to take on too much. You want to figure out what you can handle, what your schedule is like, how much homework you have. But students do have really good on-campus jobs that bring them in extra spending money. The bottom there, you can see the pay rate. Washington State has one of the highest minimum wage pay rates in the United States. So if you say you work 15 hours per week, multiply that by 1628, you can calculate how much you would make per week in your own currency just to get an idea. It adds up. It's pretty good. And this will help you with books and personal spending. It will help you feel like you have some independence with your financial situation. Okay. Then, so we talked about on campus. Let me also add that during the summertime and during the breaks, you're allowed to work up to 40 hours per week if your job offers you those hours. So for example, during the summer, if you have an on-campus job, let's say you work in the library and they want you to work full-time, go for it. You can work full-time at the library and really make some extra money. Student leadership positions are very much available to international students. This can be anything from being involved in student government, being a cultural diversity advocate, being a residence assistant, an RA, so you'd be kind of the manager of your dorm room floor. This, you get free housing and meals. And a cultural diversity advocate, these are like student mentors. Very, very fun. You'd love this if you enjoy new students and people. And you can apply to be a CDA, cultural diversity advocate, after your first year. And the CDAs help to welcome always the new students that come in each year, and you help them acclimate to campus. You're kind of like their mentor or their buddy to you're like their go-to person to help them get adjusted and answer questions and things. You create different events and activities. It's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of different opportunities for on-campus jobs and being involved on campus that earn you money. Also, we talked a little bit earlier about donor scholarships. This is an amazing opportunity for you to apply to different scholarships when you study. So this is not for a new incoming student. These are offered to current and continuing international students. There's a wide range of these scholarships, so we can't really specify the amount or what the qualifications are because there's so many. But know that you will have access to these types of scholarships. Once you're a current student, you can get the list and go through and figure out which ones are applicable for you during your different years. So there's some that are available for juniors and seniors. There's some that are available for engineering students, just lots of different categories. Okay, so I hope that you're learning that there are additional financial opportunities for you beyond your initial merit and housing grants that you get now before you are a student. Once you come and you're a student, there's lots of opportunities for you to help offset your costs, get involved, and build that resume. Okay, we didn't talk a lot about internships, so we're going to focus on that right now. Of course, you want to do internships. And the thing is, at Whitworth, the majority of our programs require an internship. So this is win-win for you. Your faculty, your professors are really, really good at supporting you in suggesting and helping you to determine what kind of an internship. We have a whole building on campus devoted to your career planning, finding internships, building your resume, practicing for interviews. So we have tons of resources to help you do that, because that can be really scary and you don't know where to start. We got you. We'll help you with that. Internships during the semester have to be part-time, but your internships during the summer, remember, can be full-time. So we have a lot of students, for example, they're finance majors. They do internships during the summer at like a finance firm or a banking firm, and they work full-time and they make some good money. And then you come back, register for classes. Possibly they do the same internship, but at the part-time while they're studying. This is typical for upperclassmen. This is typical for juniors and seniors. Freshmen and sophomore, it's usually you want to study for 1 year at least before you start looking for internships. It's actually required to study for 1 year first. Plus, you need that experience and that exposure to the university information before you can actually get chosen for an internship. So that'll come after your first year. We talked about the donor scholarships. Okay, so I can tell we're getting toward the end. The next step now, once you've figured out your cost, your actual cost, and that you know that you have opportunities on campus to help earn the money, then you just decide if Whitworth is the right fit for you, if your family is able to commit to the investment to join Whitworth and become a pirate and experience the amazing education and the beautiful campus. Your enrollment deposit is $1,000. That goes toward your tuition. That's not a separate fee. So it's like your first payment that you throw toward that tuition fee, and that locks you in, gives you a seat. It also gives you early registration, early housing selection. The sooner you do it, the better for you. And then what we talk about after you deposit is your I-20. As you know, that you'll need that for the visa process. And then, as I mentioned, you get to pick your housing. We have a lot of videos on the website that you can see inside the dorms and inside the rooms. Each dormitory has its own style and culture, kind of. So if you're interested in an active, boisterous, energetic residence hall, we've got one for you. If you want more of a quiet residence hall where people are studious and there's not a lot of commotion and noise, we also have the right residence hall for you. So there's really a lot you can search out. I can help you with it. And then class registration, you'll meet your academic professor on a Zoom call. They'll talk to you about your career goals, your dreams, what you want to study, and they'll help you choose your first semester classes. So there's really little guesswork. We help you through all of these steps. It's easy to do. Before you even arrive to campus, all of this is done. You'll be registered for class, you'll have your dorm room, everything will be ready to go. So we help to minimize your stress. And then your first actual payment, your deposit would have come in, but your first tuition payment will actually take place before you arrive. So your first payment is in the mid-August. Classes begin in early September. And then you'll set up a monthly payment plan. You can do 4 payment installments, as I mentioned earlier, and then you will continue to follow those payments. You will receive a pre-billing workbook. If you decide to deposit and come to Whitworth, we'll send you tons of information on how to pay, when to pay, how much to pay. We'll make it very easy for you. And you can always check in if you have questions about that. But just keep in mind that if you do decide to come to Whitworth, your first payment is in mid-August, so you'll need to be planning ahead. Okie dokie, there's me. Let's go back to the beginning so that we don't look at my face. Okay, any questions? I see something in the chat box, so I will go look at it. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for the note. Um, there's no cost for a payment plan. No, this was a good question. Is there a cost to set up a payment plan? Nope. There's no fee. You just have to commit. You select, I think, 3 or 4 payment options. And then the most important part about that, of course, is submitting those payments on time, which means planning ahead to factor in the wire transfer time. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 days to actually process and come to the university. So you want to make sure that's done in advance so that when your deadline day comes, your payment has arrived. Yeah, good question. I know there's a lot of information I just shared with you. It's morning here, so I have to have my coffee. Yes, payment plans are available for the first semester for freshmen. So on that last slide, let me go back to this to show you. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, there it is. Okay, so you in the pre-bill workbook, it will tell you about the payment plans. It'll tell you how to do it. Essentially, for example, excuse me, your first payment is in August, like it says there. Then your second payment will be in September, October, November, and maybe, depending on how much you pay in August, maybe a payment in December. But mostly your 4 payments are clear by November because you need to register for the next semester. So that's how you have to think about those payment blocks. And of course, freshmen get that opportunity for sure. We want every student to feel comfortable with the payment process and the payment plan. There's one person who you will be working with. Her name is Rebecca, and she works with the international students and the payment plans and the billing. So we'll be available to help you through all of that. Yes. Excuse me. I know, like I was saying, it's a lot of information, but you all know where to find me. And um, the next round of webinars, the topic will change. Like I mentioned earlier, they will change to admitted students getting closer to depositing. Then what kind of details do we need to talk about as we go through? Let's say now you're thinking about the finances, you're figuring it out with your family. Maybe you decide, let's do it, Whitworth is it. Then the next webinars are about students who've deposited and what your next steps would be. So we go through details on that. So hopefully you'll join me for that webinar because all of them are important. I wouldn't get on here and talk at you if it wasn't important. So how do we do on time? I know that we need to keep these short and interesting. Perfect. I'm going to give you another minute or so if there's anything else. Otherwise, we did it. Good information, good questions. Okay, I'll let you go back to your evening. Thank you for listening to me and for joining. It's very important information, so good job. And I will see you in the next webinar. Thank you so much.